Good morning, YouTube. So today we're going to talk to you about using an external SSD drive as your main boot drive. Okay, so in other words, your computer came with an internal drive called a boot drive. And that's where we put all of our things like our operating system, applications, and all that other junk we want to use on our computer. Well, Apple charges a lot of money for their internal storage space, which can be quite the ripoff. Only in some circumstances should you ever pay any of their blood money, and that would be on laptops. Maybe you should perhaps pay for at least a terabyte, just to be fair. Okay, I mean, you should be okay with that, and then do everything else external if you want. But on desktops, it's very ideal that you could get away with the smallest drive, whether it's a 256 or a half a terabyte. That doesn't really matter, and just absorb the rest of your money into RAM, because you're definitely going to need RAM. Now, you can build an external Thunderbolt drive for around $200, $230, depending if you're in Canada or the US. I've actually built a few of them, and I have two of them currently on my computer. One of them is actually really way faster than my other ones, including faster than my internal drive. And that's our one with the little Yoda guy up here. That was a different case that I got from the same company, and it's a bit of an upgraded case. It's actually about 300 megabits per second faster, if not a little bit faster than that. But anyways, one thing you're going to notice on my desktop right now is I actually don't have my internal drive showing. And that's because last night I went back to going to the external 1 terabyte drive that I threw into this case. Now, the cases I bought, they can all handle 4 terabyte drives, and they're just NVMe Express 4 drives, and you get the fastest ones that you can get your hands on, because you're going to need to in order to achieve that 3100 or whatever plus megabytes per second. So to be quicker, right? Now, not always is this going to be quicker on Macs. Keep that in mind. We're talking about my Mac Mini M1 system is the one in question here, okay? If you're running a Mac computer that has a way faster internal, like 5,000 or more, well, Thunderbolt 4 drive cases really aren't going to get you there, no matter how fast a drive you put in. You might want to consider Thunderbolt 5, but only if you have Thunderbolt 5 ports. However, even at 3100 or 3000 megabytes per second, that is more than fast enough, okay, to do probably everything. And it really doesn't benefit games that much. It does to a certain point, but there's a cutoff for games, which is definitely well before the 4000, that's for sure. But video editing, certainly, the faster the drive, the faster things can work out for you too. So video editing, you do need fast drives, that's for sure. It does help. But anyway, so what I'm going to show you here is I'm going to go to my Finder preferences here, to the settings. And you'll notice that hard disks is actually not got a check mark. This happens every time you even freshly load your operating system on your Mac, okay, on its internal. Same as when you first get your brand new computer from Apple or from wherever you bought it from, either way, Apple computer, you set it up and you're like, where's my drive? Well, go to Finder, go to settings, and then simply click hard disks and it magically appears. Now, external drives is on by default, and so is CDs, DVDs, and iPods. And these two drives up top, these are both externals, okay? So now with the Macintosh HD, this has, you'll notice the icons are all disabled on the folders because the drive has completely been disabled. It has a full-blown operating system on it. It's got all my software and then some, because I still haven't finished reinstalling everything, okay? And I still got over 300 gigs free, okay, on this 512 gig drive, right? But I'm kind of like, well, I want to go back to experimental world again. And I also wanted to verify what somebody had shown on a video regarding Apple Intelligence not being accessible with an external boot drive. And they were very much quite correct. It's not something I paid attention to, so I wasn't really doubting the person. I just needed to know. But at the same time, They did say there's a couple other things that apparently don't work. Now, to be quite honest with you, I've never had anything not work for me, okay? And as far as AI, well, hey, I've gone through my entire life without Apple Intelligence. What do I need it for now? Which is actually true. You know, but if you want AI, go for it. Have fun with it. I really don't care. You know, so I'm not going to miss it because I never had it before. None of us have, so we're not missing anything unless we actually have a purpose and a use for that Apple Intelligence stuff. So, but if you don't, then who cares, right? By all means, use your external drive as a boot drive. Now, you've heard the terms main drive, you've heard the terms home drive, which are seemingly the same damn thing, okay? And there's such a stupidity of process of setting this up, and it's not really benefiting you, okay? Not to mention that, and true, that another YouTuber had mentioned, one of the problems with doing this as a home drive, or what they called a main drive, which is not your boot drive, there are still applications that will always install to your main drive, period. You still run the risk of running out of space. Okay, so this is where I'm like, well, if the only real thing I'm going to run into is AI, screw it. I'm going to just use an external, because then I can get a 1, a 2, a 4 terabyte, you know, drive, throw it into that Thunderbolt case that I only paid $100 for, and I've saved hundreds and hundreds of dollars over paying Apple's blood money. Okay, but this is only practical on desktops. Just remember that, okay? Laptops, it's not a good thing to do this. It can actually cause you more grief, especially if you travel a lot with your laptop. You might actually forget your drive to pack it up in your case, which can happen, right? Everybody gets stupid once in a while. Come on, admit it. Anyways, so this is where, even as a home folder drive, this is going to create you some grief in a laptop. So I wouldn't recommend it, okay? But if you're running a desktop, then yes, I do highly recommend going this route, especially if you can do without Apple's AI crap, all right? Because you're not going to be accessing it. But anyway, so the drive here is pretty much protected, okay? So, I mean, you're not putting nothing in here. Now, you could go to the users folder and manipulate stuff in there. That's easy enough to do, okay? So that's not a problem. It's kind of the same way it would work on a main live drive too. You can't just drop crap where you want it, right? And all my applications, if I wanted to save myself some reinstall time, okay, for my external drive, I could just simply go into my applications folder here. Now, there's a lot of stuff missing from this folder. It's because it's been completely hidden away, not accessible at all, because the system is offline on this drive. Because normally there's a whack load of stuff in here, and they just went bye-byes with it, and so it's like, okay, well, whatever. Now, something like Logic Pro, I mean, I could just go and delete this if I want to off here, because it's just a trial version, right? So it's not like I'm missing anything, right? So I could easily enough do that. And that's just as simple as, you know, drag it to the trash can, and I don't even need permission, and it's gone, okay? It's going to go bye-byes here in a second, all right? Now, it's also saying that it's deleting a lot of items, which it technically is not. You don't lose any of your sound files or anything, so you're fine. They'll still all run good. Porting toolkit for converting PC programs. I haven't reinstalled that yet. But I could just take this simply and just do a whole thing of copy it here, and then I can go across here, go to applications here, and just paste the item. It is the latest version, so it's not a big deal, all right? And it's going to be right here, and then I can just drag this over here to my quick launch area where I want it. And that is all there is to transferring your programs off. You can do the same thing with DaVinci, with Chrome, with whatever. And then this way it saves you that time of re-downloading a bunch of stuff. Same as your utilities area, well, that's not accessible to you. They've locked you out. All right, and that's the whole thing of taking it offline. It's also this whole Apple security stuff. So you know what? You just leave the check mark out and you leave it hidden. You don't think about it, okay? But if you want to get some apps off there ahead time, you can, and it's not a big deal. Um, like I said, this particular drive that I'm using, which is my Yoda drive up here, this thing actually runs way faster than my internal half a terabyte, and this has a 1 terabyte KC3000 Kingston drive in it that's rated for over 7,000 read write. And as part of that, Thunderbolt 3 port on the Mini, Thunderbolt 4 case, I'm getting about 3,100 and change read writes, okay? And this other one here is just a tad bit slower. It's running in an actual Indaman brand labeled Thunderbolt 4 case. So not all cases run the same speeds either, right? That's the other thing you got to consider. You know, just because it has a price tag here doesn't make it any faster, doesn't make it any better. All right, but you do need to be using Express 4 NVMe M.2 drives, and they need to be as fast as possible in that Express 4 range to get you the best possible speeds. Okay, anyways, so yeah, just doing my normal stuff. Like I've got Logic Pro right here downloading stuff for the next little bit, but we can just go ahead, feel free to surf. We're not losing any performance whatsoever doing this. And as far as, you know, even giving us our internal space and whatnot, like I said, I was down about 300 and change left over. And in here, well, it is going to get reduced as Logic Pro is hitting me, but right now I've only used 85 gigs. And that's kind of climbing a little bit because it's about a 60 plus gig download. But I still have over 900 gigs free. Even by the time this is done, I'll still have about 900 gigs free. Which means I can do all my internal video editing. I can put more and more apps on there. Now, I do keep all my games and my important data on that little rainbowed Apple 1 terabyte drive. That's where they are, and I run all my games from there. But main applications, who cares? You can just re-download them from the App Store or whatever. Keep backups of installers onto an external drive so you can just reinstall them really quickly. You know, if you've already had a crap load of stuff installed and you're thinking about doing this for the first time, like I showed you, a lot of your stuff you'll be able to just drag and drop and in between, but you're going to have to make that drive show on the desktop, and then when you're done, hide it back away. And the benefit here, the biggest benefit you're going to run into is if anything should happen to this drive, it's pretty much going to be loaded identical to your internal where you left it at, unless you've increased, but I said pretty much, okay? If anything happens, you simply shut down the computer, unplug the Thunderbolt drive, because now it's not going to boot, reboot your computer, it'll start the process of rebooting from the internal. You do your usual sign-in, reauthentication stuff, because that gets taken offline, obviously, and you just redo that part, and you're up and running in 5 minutes, okay? So, you know, there's a lot of benefits here to using an external drive as a boot drive and an everything drive. A lot of benefits. And if you are a video editor, you might want to consider probably a 4 terabyte drive maybe as your main boot drive, doing it this way, and do all your editing on your main drive, because to edit from an external drive will slow you down. Okay, I've done some testing myself, so anybody who's been believing all the candy coated stuff out there that it's actually better, it's actually not. It makes things work a little bit harder, so it does slow you down, because now you've got to literally drag that file from the external source where you saved it, and it's still going to have to copy itself into the internal regardless into the program, and that's going to take a little bit of time depending on the size of your files, right? Then you'll finally get to work on them, and then you can do the editing, and then you can do your export, and it's also going to take longer for export times. I did some testing recently because, you know, I mean, I don't believe everything I hear on YouTube, and some things might actually make some sense. So I figure, you know, let's put it to the test. And I did, and I found out, no, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to do that again, because this is stupidity, you know, and it's too time consuming. So yeah, not my thing. I'd rather do that all internal like I've been doing it for, well, forever, literally, okay? But I had to try, and I had to see for myself, because that's one thing that nobody showed was that extra time it took just to get the damn file into my editor, right? So it's like, you know, but when your editing software and your file is on the same drive, guess what? Instant. Boom, boom, bang, gone. I mean, way more productive. And exporting, way better because you're doing everything from your boot drive. Okay? So, but to each their own. I don't care. Do what you want, but to each their own on that one. Anyway, this is pretty much what I wanted to cover with you guys today on this video. Do stay tuned for more. If you want to see what happens that's not being shown to you, maybe sometime today I'll do a separate video up just to, you know, show you guys the reality of, you know, this is what it really happens to, right? So for the video editing part, and then maybe we can do a second run, just doing it all off the internal and seeing what kind of time we actually do save. So that would end up being a longer video, but if you actually want to learn about it, I'm sure you're going to watch the video to actually see it in real time too, because there won't be any cut breaks or anything. We're going to do it all on screen recording, boof, okay? And you can actually see what's going down here. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got for you. So, see ya!